What up? I'm Josh Paulison, and welcome to Your Story Now. Today we are going to look at range of interpretation. Range of interpretation is all about how many ways you can take any sort of communication. And since we're talking about storytelling, which is telling a story, communicating a story, this is very relevant to us. So range of interpretation goes from 1 to infinity. And basically what this means is that every time that you communicate in any way, your communication can be taken between 1 and infinite ways, which sounds kind of broad, and it is, but this is actually very useful for us. So let's start with something that there's just one interpretation of. If I tell you, my first name is Joshua, there is only one way to take that. In fact, Joshua is my first name. You can't really go, well, maybe what he means by saying his first name is Joshua is that his first name is Bill or Jeff. No, that's not. It's clear that there's only one way to take that. Now, what if I just mention the color blue? There's a lot of different blues. There's, just look at the color wheel over here. We've got all of these blues, all of these different variants. We've got a lot of different blues. So there's actually a very broad range of interpretation for just saying the color blue. So in this case, actually, we have a wider range of interpretation than we did for my first name is Joshua because there are a lot of different blues that we can choose from. Now let's go a little bit farther. Let's say that we say that Sally walked to school. How did Sally walk? How does Sally look? What school? Where is she walking? There's a lot of openness of interpretation based on just the statement. The type of walk, who Sally is, the school, the time that it took for all of this. This is actually very open to interpretation. Now you might be asking, well, okay, this is 1 to infinity. What is half of infinity? What is a quarter of infinity? This is all conceptual. Don't worry about trying to pin an exact number. This is about getting across the idea of how some things are more open to interpretation than others. Yes, the color blue, there's a ton of blues, but Sally walked to school, there's even more information that we have to interpret. So we have even more openness of interpretation. The range of interpretation is wider. And now let's just go with something else. Let's say a thing. Now this could literally be anything in the known universe. So this has a very, very open to interpretation, but we do know that it's a thing versus nothing. I mean, you could argue this is further over here. You could argue that this is further over here, over here. You could argue that this is closer to there, there. This is all conceptual to get across the idea that whenever we communicate, our communications have different ranges of interpretation. Now, what is the application in storytelling? Well, we're going to talk about that more in the next videos, but suffice to say for now, you have the choice between having a closed range of interpretation or an open range of interpretation whenever you tell your story, which means that people may get an exact idea of what you're talking about, or maybe you leave things more open for them, perhaps so that they can insert themselves into your story, or so that they can personalize it more. Range of interpretation is an incredibly powerful thing to be aware of when you are storytelling.